You want to save for that more expensive piece of furniture, that concert, that trip to Bali, but you keep on eating your money. I was at like a year ago to the point where it was on my vision board to eat at home more. And I felt like I tried so many things. And in this video, I want to talk about the things that stuck, that made it so much easier to eat or cook at home so that I would stop wasting all my money on food. Starting with win number one. No matter what you do, you are gonna have days where you're sitting there, you're feeling lazy, low energy, and you're like, ugh, I don't want to cook. For those times, you need at-home takeout options. And this is less of a health win and more of a money win. Think frozen meals, frozen pizzas, frozen dumplings. And the rule is that these need to be things that you actually like. They should always be on hand in your freezer, easy to access. You could even go around to all the different grocery stores, try all their different frozen foods, and find the ones that actually feel yum to you. You want the same reward as takeout, but you want it to be like a third of the cost. Because the whole goal of this is to give yourself more options when you reach what Michelle Seeger calls a choice point. Those moments when you are sitting on the couch, feeling low energy, and you think, what am I gonna eat? And you have to make a choice. That is a choice point, which leads to win number two, loose weekly meal planning. I used to think that the only way to meal prep was like Reddit style, 20 meals at once, put it in the freezer, eat for 2 weeks. And I would see those kind of posts and be like, oh, that's so rigid, so structured, so not my style. Then I started leaning into loose weekly meal planning. Pick a few meals a week, always make more than you need, and it all just works out. I follow kind of the 3-2-1 framework, which I learned about from a creator on Instagram, where at the start of the week you pick 3 dinners, 2 lunches, 1 breakfast that you're gonna make. And it should take like 5 minutes to do this. Like that should be a very quick process. You're not planning in your meals and going, okay, on Monday, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, here's what I'm having. Just 3-2-1, that's it. And whenever you make a meal, just make more than you need so that your next meal is taken care of, and maybe even the meal after that. But this method is a lot easier if you follow the next thing that I'm gonna talk about, possibly one of the most important things that you can do for yourself if you wanna stop eating your money, a go-to meal list. You need to have one, and if you have one but you don't use it, it needs a glow up. I encourage you to create like a quick and dirty version of this because it could be tempting to be like, I'm gonna print out a full like recipe book, but that could be you being seduced by like the fun, planning, organizing side of things and not really the doing. Instead, like create a quick and dirty version in your notes app. In your Notion, that's where I have mine. Make sure it feels organized and tidy so that you're not like repelled by it. And the rules are that the recipes in this go-to meal collection need to be things you've actually tried before, so no like aspirational recipes or someday I'll make that kind of recipes. They need to be things that you enjoy the taste of, that you're like, yep, I could eat that. Things that you would pick if you were at a restaurant, for example. And they need to be meals that are pretty easy to make, so no like 5-hour crazy meals. These need to be meals that you could make after work. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I need more go-to recipes, like message your friends, ask them for their go-to meals and steal them. Find a recipe book full of like those 20-minute kind of recipes and go through the entire cookbook. That can be your quest for the year. Look at the menus for restaurants in your area and then ask yourself, what would I choose if I was going to eat at this restaurant? Then Google and find easy versions of those meals. So we've talked a lot about cooking and eating at home. Now let's talk about socializing and eating, because if you're eating a lot of your money, that's probably one of the things that's contributing to it, which is when you need to implement win number 4. More walks, more coffees, less dinners, less brunches. When your friends suggest a dinner, you suggest a hot chocolate instead. If your friends are like, let's go for brunch, be like, let's go kayaking instead and eat at home. These are all the things that I'm experimenting with. And if you have understanding friends, like they're gonna get it, just tell them I keep on wasting all my money on food and I'm trying not to. I want to actually live life and not just like eat and catch up. Now I want to talk about some lazy cooking hacks that if you implement them will start to make cooking at home feel easier than getting takeout, and that is your goal. Starting with the first random cooking hack, which is start mixing things in their end container. Figure out a way to stop using so many dishes and cooking will feel easier. The person who inspired this for me was actually Logan, the guy who makes those cucumber salads. And you see him like make his little cucumber salad, he puts it all in the one container, he swivels it around, and then he's like, yep, this is a meal. And maybe it's obvious to some people, but to me it was not so obvious. But you can do that with so many different meals. I used to make up my tofu in a separate bowl and then I put it in the air fryer. Now I just chuck it straight in the air fryer, add all the sauces. Same with scrambled tofu, same with even broccoli. Make it all directly in the pan to just cut out a few bowls in your process. Less mess, less cleanup, more likely to eat at home. Now let's talk about the next quick environment design win that you can do genuinely today, which is becoming a sauce person. If you're cooking at home, but you are like a bit of a lazy chef, like you don't want cooking to feel elaborate, you need sauces, chutneys, paste, etc. Make it your mission to find a go-to satay sauce. a go-to pesto, a go-to like sushi style sauce, a good butter chicken, butter tofu paste, a yummy chutney. All of these are essentials if you're kind of lazy chef and you know that you have days where you just don't really feel like cooking. The next hack might feel a little too granular, but it's something that worked for me, so I'm like, I'm gonna include it in here. You know how everyone has like a style of spoon that they like to eat from, or even like a style of mug? Almost everyone I know has like a mug preference. I think that we all also have container preferences, but we just don't think about them as much. Even though if you're trying to eat more at home, you're gonna be pulling containers out of the fridge and putting them back in the fridge so many times. And you want that to feel easy, not clunky, and simple. So previously I had these like big clunky glass containers and they were so annoying to work with. So I swapped them with containers that now feel like my preference in containers. I still need to work on this because I know the plastic containers aren't good. I'm figuring it out, but just having containers that feel like easy to get out and put back makes such a difference, which kind of links well with the next idea. Find cooking tools that feel easy. I used to eat those like rice sachets that you could put in the microwave. They're not very good, but I was like, it's just so much easier than making rice. And that's because I had a massive clunky rice cooker that was so annoying to get out and put back. So I decided, and this felt like kind of risky, I was like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna buy small versions of rice cookers, small versions of air fryers. My mini air fryer, I use it a few times a week, and it being so small makes it feel so much easier to use. My little rice cooker that's like so light and easy, I use it all the time. They're easy to store, they're easy to get out, they're easy to use. The other thing that I did is I put little instructions on my rice cooker with the rice to water ratio, just like a tiny little thing that I did that made things easier. Now I want to talk about some of the harder to do things that have higher payoffs. Number one, get on a roster. Find someone who lives close by, or ideally lives with you if you have like a roommate, a partner, family member, or even a neighbor, and ask them if you can get on a cooking roster. So you cook for them Thursdays and they cook for you Tuesdays. It forces you to try new recipes and it also holds you accountable for cooking at home. It's just like such a good system to have. I do this with my partner Luke. We got it in the calendar. And there are nights when I probably, if it was just me, would just do a little takeaway option. So I'm like, I'm low energy, I don't feel like cooking. But because I am on a roster, I'm like, Luke made something really good for me, I should make something good for him. Now let's talk about the last hack, possibly the most important hack of them all. I've given you all these ideas in this video of how to make cooking at home easier. However, these ideas may not solve anything for you because you could have very different problems to me when it comes to cooking. For example, dishes are a big thing for me. Like if there's a heap of dishes that I'm gonna create, I immediately am like, ugh, I don't wanna cook. So I've solved for that. But your problem could be that you really like takeaway style meals and you don't know how to recreate them at home. Those are two super different problems, and implementing my ideas will not solve your problem. So what I did when I was like in the process of trying to cook more at home was I kind of followed myself around and I was almost like making little notes. Whenever I felt a sense of friction, a sense of like, ugh, I would make a little mental note and be like, okay, I struggle with that part. Here's what's making me feel that way. And then I started solving for my problems that I honestly didn't realize were problems until I started watching myself and really treating myself like a little science experiment and making mental notes. When you know what frustrates you, it makes it a lot easier to find actual solutions that work specifically for you. So hopefully right now, after watching this video, you're feeling a little more inspired to cook at home. But let's talk about 2 weeks from now. You're busy, you're low energy, you don't feel like cooking, but you really want to be consistent. I have a whole video all about how to be consistent. And in it, I share the ideas that I use all the time to help me to be more consistent with things, like cooking at home, but also like exercise. That's gonna be linked on the screen as well as down below. I appreciate you so much and I'll see you soon.